We are back, and this is the Triple Threat Podcast. I am DJ Shockley alongside my man Scotty D. Thank you again for checking us out, man. We appreciate it every single week. I'm going to say it, and I'm going to keep saying it because we appreciate you checking us out this week on the Triple Threat Podcast. Scotty D has joined me, of course. Scotty D, say what's up to the peeps. See, Scotty D right now is still working through the mute on his Zoom. We've only done 20 some odd podcasts, and he still gets caught on his Zoom. So I'll say it again. Scotty D, how are you doing now unmuted?
What is up? It is Triple Threat Thursday. What's going on?
All good, brother. All good. Things are going well. I'm excited about our guest today. I told you last week we was going to have another good guest, and this week we do. We've got my man, my guy who I went to Georgia with. We were in the same recruiting class. Now he's doing outstanding things on ESPN. My man David Pollack is going to join the show. And, oh, man, I got so much to ask my man Pollack. We're going to obviously talk about game day. We're going to talk about the national championship game. I'm going to ask him how he even got started in the broadcast world and where he's at now. And then, of course, got to ask him about some of the stuff that he's overcome. And we all know he had to leave the game of football because of injury, and I ask him all about that. So we got a lot to talk about, my man Pollack, coming up here pretty soon. So stay tuned for that, man. Other than that, Scotty D, how was your New Year, man? How did you bring in 2021?
Not, pretty low key considering the times we're in. I didn't go to Times Square and watch the ball drop or anything, but it was low key. We got together with a small group, and then it happened.
Nice. I mean, when you get together, you got to have a little family time. Everybody have a good chance of just bringing the new year together. So respect that. We did the same thing. Me and the kids and the wife, we literally sat here and, my wife gave the kids some apple cider and had their champagne glass ready to go. And we all toasted as the peach dropped down and all that kind of stuff. So we had a good 2021, man. So it's an exciting week, man. We got a lot going on. We got playoffs this weekend, football in the NFL. You got 3 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday. So a lot of football to be played. And then, of course, the national championship game is upon us on Monday night, Alabama versus Ohio State. Before we jump into any of that stuff going on, Scotty D, this weekend. Game you're looking forward to watching, man. Well, what's the one game of the weekend that you're like, I can't wait to watch that game?
Probably the Colts and the Bills. That's the one I'm the most interested in right now. But I mean, I think there's a lot of good ones. Frankly, 5 out of 6 of them I think are going to be pretty fun to watch. Frankly,
the game that I'm excited: Ravens and Titans.
Yeah,
you got two teams who both run the rock like ain't no tomorrow. The Ravens needed, crazy 3-game stretch to get into the playoff. The Titans came off a crazy ball game to win their division. So Derrick Henry rushing title again, over 2,000 yards. Lamar Jackson coming to this ball game, doing what he does, which is being athletic, putting a lot of pressure on opposing defenses. So I think it's a lot of quality football games that's going to happen this weekend. You see any upsets? No, you see any of the top seeds going down?
Well, I think that, again, I think the Colts Bills is going to be a really good one. I think Pittsburgh will probably handle the Browns. Seems like they may have gotten a little bit back together right at the end, but they were kind of a mess for about a month. I think the Titans-Ravens game is interesting as well because last year the Titans went into I think it was in Baltimore. They went to Baltimore, beat Baltimore, with like throwing the ball like 7 times or something.
Yeah. Anything, whatever you do to win in the playoffs, whatever you got to do, that's what it's about.
Let me ask you this. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask. I don't know if there's really an upset brewing. The Bucks and Washington game. I've liked what Washington's done lately, frankly, overall.
And here's what makes it interesting. And even Bruce Arians said it. He said, look, I told my team not to look at the Washington football team like a 7-9 ball club.
Right.
Because when they were 7-9, he said, listen, when Alex Smith is a quarterback, they're 5-1.
Oh.
With Dwayne Haskins, they're 1-3. So they haven't played well when he's been in there. So he's saying, listen, when Alex Smith is playing, this is a winning football team. Alex Smith is back. And you know what's crazy? I saw the E60 story on Alex Smith. Have you seen that?
I haven't, but I will now.
Oh, my goodness. I saw it yesterday, and it blew me away. The stuff that he had to go through to get to the point he's at now. Comeback player of the year easily, no doubt.
Yes.
But I guarantee you, if you watch this story, you're going to turn into an Alex Smith fan immediately.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they literally show you what happened to his leg. They show you every single grueling picture of his leg, what it looked like when it got infected, how they had to go back in there, the stuff he had to go through. I mean, it's an unbelievable story. So I'm with you with the Washington football team. They're a different team with Alex Smith. But that story, though, if you have not seen it, you have to check it out. And it's an amazing story called Project 11. I saw it on the E60, which was an unbelievable story. So make sure you check that out, Scott. You know what?
I will.
One game that I was thinking about is the Cleveland-Pittsburgh, and it's something because their head coach has COVID. Their head coach will not be a part of the game this weekend. Mm-hmm. And how much a big deal that is, because obviously head coach, play caller, situational stuff, time management, all that kind of stuff goes hand in hand. Mm-hmm. And they won't have their head coach there for their first playoff game that they've had in a very long time. And Pittsburgh, of course, will get some of their key players back, like Ben Roethlisberger, to play in this ball game. So, but kudos to Cleveland, man. At the bottom of the cellar,
18 years.
Playoffs. Come on, man.
18 years, right?
Pretty cool, man. Pretty cool for the Browns to be in the playoffs. So a lot of ball games that happen this weekend. A lot of stuff that's going to happen. So we'll see if who comes out of this first weekend unscathed, and see if there's any kind of upsets to happen coming up.
Well, let me ask you, because I think it would be the biggest upset, and I gave this team a lot of grief all year. Do you think, and they've looked really solid for a few weeks here, you think the Bears could do it?
The Bears taking on the Saints. They got to go to New Orleans.
Yeah.
You know what? The Bears are a team that you just don't know about. Like Trubisky started the year, he was kind of awful. Then he got benched for Foles, and then came back again towards the latter this part of the season. That's played pretty well.
Yeah.
And they won ball games.
Yeah.
But you just don't know, man. But I do know the Saints are a really good football team.
Yeah.
And the one thing that makes them great is their defense.
Mm-hmm.
Drew Brees hasn't been the same Drew Brees. We know how good Alvin Kamara is. I think they're going to get Michael Thomas back, which is a huge deal. But their defense kind of shut down.
I think it might be. I think that's two good defenses. I think it might be a pretty low-scoring game.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the Saints don't take many shots now with Drew Brees not having that arm strength to maybe throw it down the field, a lot of dink and dunk stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that, man. I think that may be one of the more interesting matchups for real. The Bears versus at the Saints this weekend. So we'll check back next week to see what happens in that ball game. Like I mentioned, coming up in a couple minutes, my man David Pollack joining us on the Triple Threat Podcast to talk all things ball and all things life as well. So looking forward to that conversation. The last piece of news that we could be worth talking about: national championship game, Alabama, Ohio State. How about Justin Fields, man? What about the gutsy effort he put on display last week when he beat Clemson to a pulp, 6 touchdowns, throwing it all over the yard, and this is after getting crushed on a hit by Skowski that threw him out of the ball game, but he's hurting. His ribs are hurt. Mm-hmm. Ohio State, I felt like this game was personal for Ohio State. I felt like, they played the revenge factor, and that happens with a lot of teams. You had a ball game where you thought you should win, but then also Justin Fields versus Trevor Lawrence. Everybody says Trevor Lawrence is the top guy. A lot of people said maybe Justin Fields wasn't even the second best quarterback in this draft. And he comes out and put on display and shows people exactly what he's about.
Yeah.
Man, what a performance. What did you think of that Ohio State Clemson game?
Well, I wasn't positive that Clemson would win. I would have picked them. I did pick them, but I'm just shocked at the margin of victory. Man, I'm just shocked with how they just imposed their will as the game wore on, and it just got ugly at the end. But you're right about Justin Fields, man. That was an impressive performance. And as somebody whose team is high in the draft, I was unsure whether I think he's pro material, I guess you would say. So it made me feel good.
Does Dabo ranking him 11 have any bearing on that ball game?
Well, it definitely put a chip on their shoulder. I mean, you heard enough about it. I don't understand, and I hear it from my Gators all the time too. One of the linebackers was talking bad about Oklahoma going into the game and to their game, and golly, man, just shut your mouth and get ready to play.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. It's not an MMA fight, that I expect people to talk, trash like that for that. But yeah, I think it definitely helped. And I think it's going to be a pretty good game. The line is only like 10. It's around 10, right? I think last I saw for this game. So it wouldn't surprise me if it gets pretty close, but they're going to have to keep, just like I keep saying with whoever plays Alabama, you got to keep up and you got to hope Alabama makes a mistake. And it just hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, big props to Devontae Smith winning the Heisman Trophy earlier this week. One of the biggest margins of victory. Haven't had a winner from the wide receiver position since Desmond Howard. So congrats to Devontae Smith, man. Well deserved. I think a lot of people agree with that Heisman winner. Obviously, he was one of the more dynamic players of all in college football. So big kudos to him, man. Look forward to him to having another big ball game. Sarkisian has done a great job of finding ways to get him to football all year long, and I don't think this game will be any different. So I think Justin Fields has to come out and play similar ball game that he had versus Clemson for Ohio State to come out with this win. But it's going to be a slogger, knocker game. You got two grip backs in this game. I think Najee Harris, Trey Sermon. Trey Sermon's been killing it, 500-plus yards rushing in the last two ball games for him. Justin Fields coming into his own in his last ball game. And we've talked about it here for the last couple of weeks of what Alabama brings to the table with their triple-headed monster. Let's give a little prediction, man. What do you think? Let's put it on tape. Let's, put something out there. Who do you like and what's the score, Scotty D?
It's so easy to go chalk, First thing I want to do is give Trey Sermon a shout-out. He's from Sprayberry High School, which is about 5 miles from where I'm sitting right now. Okay. So he's a local kid that went to Oklahoma. I need to read up on why he's not at Oklahoma anymore. I don't know if he got in trouble, if he was behind somebody or what, but I don't know how
they got him.
How in the hell you let that guy leave your campus. I don't know. Yeah, but I'm gonna take Alabama just because I've watched a lot of Alabama. I haven't seen a lot of Ohio State, but what I saw last week was pretty impressive. I think it might be a little tighter than people expect.
Yeah. Hey man, I want to ask you this. Did you get a chance to see Kirk Herbstreit's setup at his home calling that semifinal game? Did you see it on Twitter?
With all the helmet? Oh, I didn't see the Twitter. I know he's got a wall of helmets behind him.
No, not that. They actually showed like all the monitors because he had to be home because of COVID.
Yeah.
And he had to call that game. And I'll send it to you. They had a clip. They had like a video, like a 1-minute video of him in his basement or whatever, calling the game, and he had about 10 different monitors around him.
What?
And I said, unbelievable setup. Now, I got a setup up in here.
Yeah.
And it's not 10 different, monitors in here. But unreal setup. He did an outstanding job calling the game, but his setup was crazy.
I'll have to see that. I'll tell the listeners, but when you got your boxes from ESPN before the season started, I was super interested in to see what you had and your setup and everything. And it ain't 10 monitors, but I sometimes I wonder how do you have enough going on in front of you? I know we're trying to not be too long today, but can I ask you this?
Yeah.
Can you give our listeners some insight about calling a game from home? Like, what's that like? What's the difference between that and going to a game? What kind of challenges do you have?
So it's a little different. I'll tell you, when you're actually in a stadium, you can feel the atmosphere. You can see everything. And for me, as a guy who is the color analyst, I like to see the entire field. And what that means is I like the all 22 view. All 22 view means I get to see all 22 players at one time, and I get to see the entire field because I like to see how things unfold. So that way I can describe to the viewers what's happening on a particular play and how something worked, how something didn't work. Now, what the fans see, what you see at home is a condensed version because they want you just to see the box. They want to zoom in so you can see every little detail inside the box. But I like to see the entire picture. Now, when you're doing it at home, the thing that actually helps is sometimes in our headsets, we have the NAT sound, which is we have the sound that they have that's blasting from the particular stadium. Mm-hmm. But you don't get the feel of being in a stadium that you would get when you're there. It's a little different from being at home, but similar to like everybody else, man, we've had to adapt to it. I have, during the game, I have probably about 4 monitors in front of me, with my iPad, my computer, the iPad from ESPN. You got a laptop from ESPN. We got a big, like 40-inch monitor that's in front of us. So I have enough to view the ball game. And then I have like 3 or 4 different views. So it's a little different, but you adapt to it and you move on. I think I called maybe 8 games from my house this year, which was different. Yeah. But as the season went on, you kind of got used to it, and it is what it is. And I was just glad we was able to have some ball and talk it.
It's funny. I didn't really notice it on any football games this year, but when I was watching baseball back in the summer, there was a couple times where I thought that the announcers couldn't see what was going on, like a ball down the line, whether it was fair or foul. There was like this delay that normally they would be sitting right behind home plate and be able to see that for themselves.
Right.
But it was kind of like they were waiting for the camera feed to catch up or something. So it was interesting. So I was wondering,
right on.
Yeah, I was wondering how you felt about that. So listen, everybody, if you've got a question for DJ, that's something that I thought of. It came from Scotty, Twitter follower Scotty D425. But if you've got a question for DJ, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, check us out on social media. Send a question, and we'll try to fit into the show if it works and it's appropriate.
Yeah, we'll shout you out, man. We'll give out your Twitter handle and all that, so it'd be cool, be good to go, man. All right, let's get to my guy David Pollack, man. I've teased it long enough. He's got a lot of good things to talk about, and I can't wait for you guys to hear some of the gems he's gonna drop on us, man. So stay tuned right here on the Triple Threat Podcast. My guy David Pollack coming up next. Welcome back to the Triple Threat Podcast, and I told you before, we got my man David Pollack coming on now. First off, I want to, before I even say what's up to my man Pollack, I got to let people know, obviously, if you've been under a rock and you don't know who my man Pollack is, obviously the dude who I played with, a good friend of mine, good teammate. Now he's doing really good things now on ESPN, and you see him probably every weekend on College Game Day. But Pollack, what up, bro?
What's up, my man? Look at the man got his own podcast. I hear you, bro. Big time.
Hey, man. Sometimes you try to find a way to get to where you need to be. Sometimes you got to do it on yourself. But, hey, man, first off, man, before we talk, obviously people obviously want to hear what your thoughts are and what's going on here in a couple of days or so with the big game. But before we even get to any of that stuff, we gotta go back a little bit. We got to go back to good old Shiloh High School and talk about my man Pollack and old Shiloh and the kind of player you turned into. Did you always want to play football, or was it just something that you say, hey, I love hitting people, I'm going to be involved in it?
No, I love playing football. I started when I was – actually, my parents always tell me all the time, I actually started when I was 4 because you only can play when you're 6.
Right.
But my brother started at 6, and he was 2 years older than me. And he was playing on the field, and I was tackling everything in sight on the sideline. So – Mama P and Norm knew I was going to be into football. It got kind of weird when I tackled cheerleaders and stuff. That was probably a little bit inappropriate. But no, I was made for it, man. I knew at the age of 6. I literally told my parents at the age of 6, I was like, I'm going to play in the NFL one day. And they always supported me. And then obviously there's plenty of people out there always like, oh, it's so cute. You want to do that. So does everybody else.
No doubt.
But I love what Devontae Smith said the other night with the Heisman too, though, man. Like, don't let people tell you what you can and can't do. And right. I didn't, man. And I loved ball. So I grew up 6 years old and playing all through Shiloh. And we sucked, man. We were atrocious. We didn't win very many games. And I had other teams from within our county come to me and offer me to come to their spot. And, hey, we'll go win a championship. And, Parkview and Brookwood were winning at that time. And I love Shiloh, man. I didn't want to leave Shiloh. I wasn't leaving what I had grown up with since I was 6 years old. And so, I played a good bit of positions in high school and had a lot of fun and lost a lot of games, but went down with my boys swinging.
No doubt. Now, if a lot of people don't know, me and Pollack actually were in the same recruiting class to Georgia. One of Coach Rick's, first recruits to the University of Georgia.
Except for Shockley was highly recruited. Shockley was the man. It was so National Signing Day. You had Shockley, doing the hat thing probably. And then there was like undertone, footnote. Oh, they signed a guy from Shiloh, a 3-star guy from Shiloh that nobody's ever heard of. So, but we got DJ Shockley. We good.
But guess what? At the end of the day, though, when all was said and done, the little guy from Shiloh turns out to be a 3-time first-team All-American, won Player of the Year a couple times. I mean, had probably one of the more famous plays in all of Georgia history. Before we get into all that, we're gonna talk about that. But let's go back to the recruiting part of it. What was it about Georgia that made you want to go there, or was there something that said, hey, I want to go somewhere else, or was it just, hey, I want to go to Georgia, I'm a Georgia boy, this is where I want to be?
I went to I'll never forget, Spurrier was recruiting me from Florida. And
that's the one thing you got on me. Spurrier never recruited me. Every school in the country except for Spurrier.
Oh wow. Well, yeah. you got to take that out on him in 03. 04, 05. 05 was a good one to take it out on. But no, he recruited me and came in the house, and they had it cooking. So I was like, dude, this is cool. And then I drove 5 hours down there, and I was like, man, I can't come home very often if I do this. And this, I've had one girlfriend my whole life, and it was Lindsay, and she was going to be in high school for 2 more years. And so when I took that drive, I was like, yeah, I don't want to do that. And then, you drive up the road an hour to Georgia. Coach Rick, just being the human being he is, man, he's just such a good dude. I believed in him immediately when I met him. He had strong faith. I had strong faith and just believed that we could do something good. And that's what's the coolest thing about, our class and what we did. We brought it back to where it should be. And it's been fun because Georgia should be a national power. Georgia should be winning national championships. That should be a part of their DNA, because you get great players. It's a great fan base. It's a great crowd all the time, great atmosphere, great environment. So I think that was the fun part. I looked at a bunch of schools, but the proximity being close to home, I think, was the biggest indicator to keep me at Georgia.
No doubt. And I mean, some of the things you did while you were there, just talk about, obviously, a lot of people want to know from your take, and I know you've told this story tons of times, the play versus South Carolina is one of the things that people remember you by. And it was an amazing play. It's something that I'm like, I still look at him like, it's unbelievable you was able to do that. But talk about some of the things that you had to overcome while you were there to become the player that people see at the end. Because everybody always sees the end result, and they don't know the things that you had to go through, the way you had to work to get to that point, things you had to overcome. But talk about some of the things that help you get to that point where people see the 3-time All-American.
Well, first of all, I came into Georgia as a fullback, and very few people know that. And everybody got hurt in spring ball or in summer camp, everybody. And so they were like, all right, well, you go play defensive tackle. And I played defensive tackle as a freshman. At the end of the year, I started. And then everybody left. Bruce Dreen, Josh Mallard, Charles Grant, every defensive end left. And it was really like, how do we get through spring ball? Okay, Coach Fab, take him. Take Pollack, and he'll come over there with you. And by the way, I'm going to spring ball against George Foster, a first-round pick, and Stinchcombe, a second-round pick. And I've never played defensive end a day in my life. Like, it wasn't fun, bro. Like, it sucked. I mean, I got my butt kicked a lot, but just kept working, kept grinding. And Russ Tanner, me and him work out, 3 or 4 days a week here at the house. And he said he always brings up stories of things that I've forgotten so much along the way. But he was like, dude, do you remember those bands you had that would tie around your waist and they went to your wrist and you'd shoot your hands everywhere you went? And he was like, you're such an idiot. And just, bring up stories of stuff like that. But I took it personal to really work on my craft. And I'd walk every door I'd walk around, I'd club and I'd rip and work on my hips and my hands. And, I grew a lot from, my sophomore spring ball to my fall camp. Because if you watched me in the spring, you're probably like, yeah, it's not very good. And then, during the season, I got to have a good season and became an All-American, and things changed. But, and you got to see this, and I'm still the same way now. Like, I'm going to work and I'm going to grind, and I don't care what the results are. I don't care if I get my butt kicked. Like, I'm coming back, and I'm going to turn and I'm going to run to the football. And, I'm going to make a priority, and I'm going to take it personal. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times my wife has went to the bedroom crying because of playing a board game. I'm competitive. I don't like to lose. And I don't care if it's to her or my kids. Like, I'm keeping score. Everything matters. And so I think, all of that went into it. But, man, it was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of failure. It was a lot of adversity and switching positions. And, you were obviously there. I'll be interested. I'm always curious about this. Like, what did you think of me as a teammate? You probably thought I was nuts, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. I think everybody, and a lot of people will ask me, they come and say, bro, what is wrong with Pollack? Why does he act like that? And I'm like, the dude just wants it. Like, he don't know no other way. So I'm like, it is what it is. Like, you guys got to accept it because he's going to make everybody around you better. But at the end of the day, he don't really care if you like him or not. And I think that's kind of what it was about. And people didn't realize that.
That to me, I tell my kids this all the time. They're 12 and 10. They don't get it yet. And just like a lot of people don't. I didn't care if a single person liked me. I care if you respect me. Like, I'm not there to be everybody's best friend. And by the way, what have we all done throughout our lives? We've all gone our separate ways. You're going to do that. Like, but I'm going to come in there. I'm going to work my butt off, and I'm going to gain respect and earn respect. Like, it's not so many people want to be liked, and so many people don't want to, like, I'll never forget. I'm not going to name any names. I'll never forget going against people that were like, hey man, slow down. Like, slow down in practice. I'm like, no, that ain't getting either of us better. Like, no, absolutely. I got to the Bengals. It was no different, bro. They were like, what is wrong with you? The ball's dead and you're running 20 yards past it. I was like, if I'm going to play the way I want to play in games, I got to keep cooking and being a great teammate and, you know, all that stuff. Holding people accountable isn't fun. Like, it's not something that people enjoy, but you know, it's not about being liked. It's about respect. And if you can gain people's respect, they'll fight for you. They'll love you. I mean, I'll never forget when I came on campus and a lot of the guys couldn't stand me. And I remember when I used to run to the football and scout team work, and I'd run so far down the field every play. And people were like, what a suck up. What a kiss butt. People would say stuff like that. Next thing you know, after my sophomore year, I got 2 or 3 boys running with me doing the same thing going, oh, that might work. And so don't worry about, you know, being loved and being liked. Worry about being respected.
See, I love that part. I hope people get a lot of that. I hope people listen to the words that you actually just mentioned and more than just a story, but the fact you look around society, you look around and anything that people do in their daily life, a lot of people are so concerned about, does this person like me? Does this person think I'm good? Instead of just doing your job. And doing your job and being respected by it is what people ultimately will measure you by. So I love that attitude. I love that mantra. I hope people can get some from that. Talk to me about that 02 season, man. Talk to me about that particular play versus South Carolina from your point of view. And I've heard you talk about it. I was there. I saw it. But it was unbelievable. What was going through your mind pre-snap, post-snap when you made that play?
Well, pre-snap, you know, we name every formation. So the personnel grouping was 10 personnel, 1 back, no tight ends, a bunch of receivers. When it was trips or 3 wide receivers to our side, we called it Tucson. With a gun, we called it gun or Tucson open. And then the back was all set to the trip. So it was Tucson open stud. So I just said a lot of words. Don't get confused. Basically, because of the formation, I knew it was 95% rollout pass. And so before that play even happened, I widened out an extra yard and knew a good chance it was going to be a rollout pass. And I beat the tackle so quick. He wasn't even ready because I was so wide. And then I beat the running back. And I'll be honest, I wasn't trying to make that play. I was trying to bat the ball down. Like, I was not trying to make an interception. I was literally, our offense sucked, which was a theme during my years. Offensive sucked.
So glad I wasn't a part of those offenses. So glad.
Our offense wasn't putting up points. Actually, didn't even score an offensive touchdown that game. I think it was 13-6 that game. But I go up and try to bat the ball down and hit his arm. And then as I'm going down, I'm like, oh, bro, the ball's right here. and just kind of grab it. And by the way, there was no instant replay then, so there was no going and replaying it. But the ref was literally right there standing behind, and he saw it happen, which was crazy and very fortunate. But again, it was preparation because I knew the tendencies of the play. Preparation meets opportunity, and that's when you make big plays. I think people don't get how mental the game of football is and how much, if you study, it can put you in a position to really be successful.
Well, I don't think people really understand how detailed that you guys are. And I mean you guys as D linemen, as guys who everybody thinks just puts their hand in the dirt and on third down they rush to passer. And I think you just made a critical point of how critical it is to worry about the small things in detail. You broke down the formation, you broke down the tendencies, but then also you took it a step forward and said, hey, I moved out a yard because I knew I could widen the guy and then I would be able to get around the corner. I mean, those are things that when people watch the game that they don't realize happen. So I'm glad you were able to kind of put that into words on some of the things that happens up front, which is pretty cool. Let's move on to, you end up obviously having a great career at Georgia. You leave, you know you're going to get drafted. Did you know you were going to get drafted, where you got drafted, and what was that experience like? Because we've had a couple guys on here who obviously been, we had Ronnie Brown on here a few weeks ago. He talked about, going top 5 and what that meant to him. Talk about that experience of, hey, okay, now I'm going to the draft, where I was going to get drafted, and then the feeling of I'm a first-round pick and I'm going to Cincinnati.
Well, that part wasn't good because Cincinnati always sucks. I actually had a hat for every team in the draft because I had a pretty good idea I was going in the first round. And every hat I put on, obviously I was 17, so it took a while. Every hat I put on, 49ers, Alex Smith won. I'd throw it down the balcony. It made it kind of confusing because the Texans actually traded out from 11 and then back into 16. So I had to go get the hat again just to put it on to throw it down the stupid steps again. But I think when it comes to the draft, I knew the night before the draft, there was a team that like the Browns were interested in me. And actually, Ronnie Brown screwed it up, actually, believe it or not. So the Browns had the 3rd pick. Right. And we had good word that if Braylon Edwards went 2, Nick Saban and Miami Dolphins, if Braylon Edwards went 2, then I would go 3 to the Cleveland Browns. Ooh. And obviously Ronnie Brown went 2. Sorry, sucker. I hate you. Sorry, guys. Yeah. He went 2, and then after he went 2, my phone didn't ring again until 17. But listen, it was a cool experience. I don't necessarily think I had any expectations of what it would feel like. I was excited that I get to continue to play. I mean, I thought when I went to Georgia, even though I wasn't highly recruited, I always believed in myself. I always thought I'll be here a couple years and then I'll go play in the NFL. And so it was always a dream of mine since I was 6 years old to go accomplish it. And so when I finally did, I was like, man, this is sweet. And, then I've changed positions again. So it's a common theme throughout my career. But I definitely wasn't super excited about the Bengals when they took me. But once I got there, I was like, this is a pretty cool franchise. And I love Coach Lewis. So
you talk about going to a franchise with Lewis who had, has done great things, obviously been a winner his whole entire time when he was in the league. Your first year, you're second on the team, 4.5 sacks. Then the second year comes around. Is it the first or second game you're playing against the Browns?
Second game.
Second, yeah. September 17th, you're playing the Browns, and you're going in for a tackle. And just kind of take us through that moment and when you realized something wasn't right.
Yeah, it was it was a crazy play. So I was playing linebacker and it was a draw play. So, first step, I take a step back because I'm thinking I'm going to drop in coverage, and I see him handing it off to the running back. And one of my main goals my second year coming in, this is back when actually you could hit people in football. One of my main goals my second year was to be more physical and to start because I went from playing on the line and not playing in space, and I really wanted to be a guy that could close space and thump you in the mouth. And I got my first opportunity against Reuben Drones, a big 230-pound back. Mm-hmm. And I lowered my head a little bit and went in there and popped him. And, I didn't know. I thought it was a stinger because we've all had stingers. If you play football, just kind of shooting pain all the way down your neck. And the only thing that was different is I was face down and I couldn't move my upper body. And so, I was just I was kind of stuck. And like, imagine when you wake up and you fall asleep on your arms and you can't move them, like that kind of, it's kind of a horrible feeling. It's a terrible feeling. And that's kind of what I felt like. And it was nuts. It was crazy. They take you off the field. They go right underneath the tunnel, and they have an X-ray machine, and got an X-ray, got an MRI with my, they cut my face mask off and all that stuff. And then the doctor was there and he was like, hey man, you fractured your C6, C7. And I was like, that's cool, man. A couple weeks and I'll be back. Like, what's no big deal, right? And he goes, nah, bro, that means you broke your neck. And I was like, ooh. Oh. I was like, hey, doc, can we stick to you fractured your C6? That sounds a lot better than a broken neck. Yeah. And I'll never forget, man. I told you already that since I was 6 years old, it was my dream. And I'll never forget being on the gurney. And then they took me down into the stadium and they put me in an ambulance, and my wife met me there. And, I knew right then, like, we were both crying as we left. Like, this could be the last time I ever put on a uniform. And it was to make that thought and to think that thought for the first time at 22 years old, when you've been dreaming about it so long, it definitely was devastating.
Unreal, man. Obviously, you're going to have surgery to fuse two vertebrae together, and you come out of that, you got to wear a halo brace for what, 3 months or so, something like that.
I've always been an angel, though. I just needed my halo to go with it. I mean, it's all good.
I mean, for people who have had to go through things and things taken away from them, where did your mindset go from that point of, like you mentioned, since 6 years old, this has been my dream, and just like that, and we hear it all the time as athletes. Hey, you can be playing today, going tomorrow. And we kind of take it for granted. What are some of the things that you tell athletes today who feel they're invincible or who feel like, hey, I don't have an opportunity, it's taken away from me? How do you move on from a tough situation where you have to go through some adversity similar to like you did?
Well, I think, first of all, perspective is important, right? Like I try to tell people all the time, no matter what you're going through, somebody's got it worse.
Right.
I mean, somebody buried a child today.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally, somebody's lost their life today. There's so many things that go on in the world every day that that people are going through very, very difficult times. And so I think that I try to keep perspective on that, on where we're at and what we're doing. But I knew I lost something. Barkley, man, shush, bro. My dog's yapping over here, bro. So I try to put him in, try to keep it in perspective, but it's not the end of the world regardless. Like here's the thing I try to always remember, and I try to always remind myself after it happened. Like football, at some point, DJ Shockley had to hang up his cleats. Mm-hmm. Like I was going to have to hang up my cleats at some point. I knew that. Like the day would come when it was over. I didn't think it was going to be at 23. Mm-hmm. Like I didn't think it was going to be my second year into the NFL, but I knew at some point it would happen. And so I think, the reality of that setting in, it sucked. I'm not saying every day was great, man. Yeah. But man, you talk about learning who your friends are. You talk about learning who's in your corner for the right reasons. You talk about gaining perspective in life. I would have never gained that perspective in life Shock, I took when I got cleared to work out again, first of all, when I got my neck brace off, my wife made spaghetti. I'll never forget. I literally go to eat the spaghetti the first night out of my neck brace. Mm-hmm. And I'd go like this, and my head goes right in the plate.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't hold my head on my shoulders. Like, I got cleared to lift weights. I benched 455 in college. That's not a lot, by the way. All you people that think that sounds like a lot of numbers, that's like bottom 15 on the team, for God's sakes. We got so many Herculean freak shows. I go to bench press. I benched 135 twice, and I was shaking like this twice. Like, when you're coming back from that, man, your expectations and what you think you can do and what you used to be able to do, they don't matter. Like, I didn't care anymore, bro. Like, that's not what I cared about. My new mantra for me was every day counts. And I started to ingrain that in my brain. I'm not what I used to be, but I'm going to make today count. Tomorrow, because I've said this for years. No one's to blame for where you're at right now. But if you're here tomorrow, that's on you. That's your fault. So I tried to adopt that. And how can I get better every day? How can I stay focused on little goals, mini goals? Write it down. Write down 2 or 3 things I want to accomplish today to deem this day a success. So, it did stink, and it was adversity. But, man, I learned more about myself and everything everybody around me quicker than I ever have. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me. By far, the best thing that's ever happened in my life.
I love it, man. Obviously, I think a lot of people can get a lot from that, because in the day in society where we are now, where so many things are looked at as bad. I mean, we're going through a freaking pandemic. People can't do the things they used to do. But I think the mantra of every day counts. And I see it on your Twitter. I see it on your Instagram. I see it through your foundation all the time. It's something that you actually are about. So if people are wondering, is this just talk or is this just something to sound good? This is who my dude is about. So I appreciate you for, allowing us to hear your heart a little bit and talk about that, because I know that was a tough time in your career. And I think a lot of people don't even realize in 2008, when you got cleared to medically play, you decided, nah, I'm done. What went into that decision of saying, nah, I'm cool?
Well, I mean, so you rehab and I get strong again and I get my body back where I want my body back. And, the doctors are doing the testing. And right now, when I turn my head this direction versus when I turn my head this direction, I can't move it about 1.5 inches, 2 inches. Mm-hmm. So I said from the beginning with my wife, I was like, listen, because I wanted to play football since I was 6 years old, but I wanted to be a dad my whole life. Yeah. I've always wanted to be a dad. Like that's probably the most proud thing I have in my life is being a dad. And I knew if I was more likely to get hurt than anybody else, I would not play football again. So could I have pushed the envelope 100%? And here's the thing. I didn't know what I was going to do. I dang sure didn't think I'd do this. Like, I hated the media. The media annoyed the piss out of me. Like, stupid questions, people that don't really pay attention, you can tell, saying stupid things. Man, they used to drive me insane. Yeah. So I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew that I was more inclined for somebody else to get hurt. I knew I wanted a family. So it wasn't a tough decision. Did I want to play football? Yeah. Did I miss the locker room? Of course, dude. But I had to make a decision that was best for me and my family moving forward. And that was, unfortunately, to give up football. But I knew good and well with my personality that football was going to be a part of my life. Like, I wasn't going to go from 6 years old football to the rest of my life without football. I knew I would have football, and it was just a matter of what capacity.
So you talk about not liking the media. You're talking about moving on from football, and you start in sports talk radio here in 790. I've been on 790. I've done it. You work with Mike Bell. Everybody who follows in Atlanta knows Mike Bell and what that is like. But how did you getting into the broadcast world, I should say, stoke the engine for you to be where you're at now? Because obviously where you're at now is a stage that's bigger than any other. But where in your mind did you say, maybe I can do this? Maybe this is something I can make a career out of?
First of all, you go from talking about your team and your players, which you know intimately, and the opponent you're playing. So Georgia's playing Alabama. Like, I knew everything about Alabama. I knew everything about Georgia because we played. But now you're asking me about everybody. And so it took a hot minute to, like, learn the game and learn all of the stuff and learn how to speak. By the way, us defensive players, we ain't bright, bro. Like, there ain't no secret. Like, we play defense for a reason, see ball, get ball a lot of times. But so I think it was hard to flip the switch and to understand it. And radio's tough because radio, right here, we get to use our hands. Yeah. We get to smile and do expressions. Radio, you got to paint that picture vividly. And then I go work with a guy like Mike Bell, who show prep didn't exist
at all.
At all. So
it was off the cuff.
This homeboy might bring up like girls volleyball. Like I literally. So I learned to be prepared for everything because I have no clue where he's going to go. Yeah. And then as I worked with him more, I started to realize, like, okay, he's going to stay in this vein or whatever. But I'm trying to figure it out. I'm drowning. So, and again, I go from there and I go to Fox SEC Gridiron Live, audience of 2. I mean, nobody watched, and that's fine. Nobody watched. My mama didn't even watch, for God's sakes. I know nobody else isn't watching, but I'm on Fox SEC Gridiron Live, and I get a phone call afterwards, and it's Kirk Herbstreit. And I knew Kirk from Ohio because I was Bengals and he lived in Ohio. We go to some country concerts and I'd see him there, and I knew him, and I got his cell phone. And he was like, dude, I was flipping through the channels and I saw this SEC Gridiron Live show. I'm like, what? Really? Okay. Didn't know anybody watched. And literally he was like, dude, you're pretty good. He was like, you should give this a try. Like, would you want to do that? The next week I was on College Game Day as a guest, like via phone, or I don't know how, no, via satellite. But it was like that. I had an opportunity, and then I had to I got in the doors at ESPNU, and I started doing the recap show from 12 to 2 a.m. Again, nobody was watching, but what was I doing? I was honing my craft. Yep. I was getting reps. Exactly. I was getting reps. I was learning how to address a camera. I was learning how to speak intelligently. I was learning how to put things in a real phrase and not just talk slang all the time. I was learning how to say things that I shouldn't say. Because I remember Sean Murphy. I used to push the button all the time at ESPN. Hey, can I say this? No. Hey, can I say this? No. I was like, dang. I'm like, what the heck can I say, bro? And so going through that process of learning how to, hold a mic, learning how to address a camera. By the way, learning how to dress. I don't know how to dress, bro. I don't care either.
Pollack. I remember them early days.
Well, because
had big suits on, had to, no tie. It was just
my wife let me dress. That was her fault. Like I'm like, I don't have first of all, I'm the least. I'm a defensive lineman. I'm not GQ. I don't try to be I don't do my hair. I don't do makeup. I don't give a crap. I'm there to talk football. And like Kirk always gets a kick out of it. He's like, oh, there's 3 technique, just flopping around in mud all the time. And so like I've learned, my wife does my suits. Like I've learned, hey, keep your hair short enough where you ain't got to cut it. Like
you got to worry about it.
You ain't got to.
Come on, man.
There you go. Yeah. You ain't got to style it. So, I learned along the way, but again, it took years and years of screwing up. But I'll never forget this. And this is another story, like along with the NFL. I met with an agent, a TV agent. And he said, what do you want to do? And I said, the best show on TV is College Game Day for college football, right? I was like, I want to do that. He was like, ha, that's funny. I'm like, wait a minute, why not?
What's funny, right?
Like, why not? Again, Devontae Smith, right? Like, don't tell me what I can and can't do. Don't tell me. God can do extraordinary things, right? So I started getting reps, and then I got an opportunity because the show expanded from, it used to be a 2-hour show, and then it expanded and put the first 2 hours on ESPNU. So they needed somebody to go fill that time, and they tapped me to go in there with Aaron Andrews, and we started doing it. And I mean, it was nuts, man. I'm 3 or 4 years into my TV career, and I'm on game day and starting to have a role, and then it started to expand more and more. But again, it took the reps. It took 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. recaps that nobody watched, screwing up, and me looking at myself going, this is not what I want to do, but I'm a freshman in college. Put your head down, grind, and then I'll get where I want to go. That's people forget that's part of the process. Like, I want that. Well, what do you think that person did to get there?
And that's the interesting part, is because I've had people all the time, because they know we play together, George, they know we're friends, and they said, how did Pollack just get on game day just like that? And for me, I knew the journey. I knew the stuff that you did, because I remember watching you doing stuff here and there, and I was like, it's similar to ball. You got to work your way up, just like in anything in life, not just sports. We relate a lot of stuff to sports because that's what's kind of taught us. But at the end of the day, it's life. Life has taught you that you got to take certain steps, and you need certain people. And I think a lot of people will get a lot out of hearing you had a guy like Kirk Herbstreit who was just going through a show, and he happened to see you on a show, and then boom, that sparked it. And I try to tell kids all the time, you never know when that one moment is, or when that one play is, or when that one situation is. So why not give it your best every time that you're out? So I love the fact that
so if I didn't give my best on that show, and I was up there, man, Fox SEC Gridiron Live, this sucks.
Hey, anybody watching? Yeah.
And Kirk flipped through the channel. Kirk would have never thought anything about it. He'd been like, oh, he don't even care about what he's doing. But he was like, I could tell you had passion and energy, and you love the sport. He was like, I love that I could feel your energy. Yeah. So when you get that opportunity, no matter who's watching, it doesn't matter. Like, and I used to have my pump up song. Everybody got pump up songs. Like I ain't the one for pump up songs. Mine was Audience of One. Yeah. That was my pump up song. It's a slow Christian song, but it was like, literally I play for an audience of one. I'm not playing for everybody else. I'm playing for an audience. I'm playing for you. And I'm giving you everything I got.
Gotcha. I love that, man. You know what? I would love to know, because I'm a guy who, obviously we're all in TV, we're in broadcast, but you mentioned it. The biggest show on TV that people watch every Saturday that can't wait to turn it on is College Game Day. I would love you kind of pull the curtain back and kind of tell people what it's like first for you to have to prepare for a show like that that's 4 hours long or whatever it is, and what it's like to be on that stage week in and week out, and everybody looks at it like, oh, he's got the greatest job ever, he's at all these different cool places, meet all these cool people, but kind of pull the curtain back and kind of tell people what it's like leading up to it, and then what it's like to actually do freaking College Game Day.
Well, it's obviously sweet, and we get to go to one of the best games every week in college football, and you get to see all the different towns, the different atmospheres, the different fan bases, because we played in the SEC, we saw the SEC. To go visit Altson Stadium and to go visit all the different places all across the country with this job, it's been really cool to see the traditions and stuff like that. But listen, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. So I don't have to watch a ton of tape if I don't want to, but if I want to know exactly what I'm talking about, and if I want it to be my opinion and I want it to be genuine, then I need to watch it, and I need to figure out what I think about it, not what Joe Blow, who writes columns, thinks about it. So I think you can put in whatever you want to get out of it. But, man, it's a fun show. It's very different than most shows on television, especially nowadays. Nowadays, there's a lot of arguing. There's a lot of yelling. There's a lot of cursing. You get more political stuff than you get. Dude, when you turn into our show, man, you're going to talk football. You're going to talk matchups. You're going to talk conferences. You're going to talk coaches. You're going to have coaches on the show. You're going to have players on the show. Like, I think that's why people love our show, because they know exactly what they're getting every week, and it's just football. So it's fun. It's been fun. Listen, I had Chris Fowler to start and Aaron Andrews to start, and they're gone. And now, Reese Davis comes in and fills in. And, we've had different people come across, and Bear's been added, and all kinds of different dynamics change. But you're talking about 4 hours every week to talk football. And it's a blessing. It's an awesome opportunity to have fun and, and I think you're going to realize this too, the more you do this. Coach Corso always says it. We're like, anybody can get a stat. Mm-hmm. We're not in the stat business. Like, give me your personality. Like, that's what people want. People want fun, your personality. They want to be entertained. Mm-hmm. They remember more Tom Rinaldi features and Gene Wojciechowski features and moments in the show when we busted each other's balls, or moments in the show. They don't remember these analytical tapes that we do. Oh, watch this, man. Let me show you how smart I am. Cover 2, the soft spot is the 7, throw a 7 route right here. Like, I mean, I think like Kirk taught me that the most, and Kirk and Coach has taught me that big time, is, this is about entertainment and fun. And so I think that our show is unique in that, and we do a little bit different things, but I don't think it's necessarily like it's never negative. It's always positive, and it's always football, and it's always, just fun with fans that enjoy the game. And this year was different, but the fans, man, they come out in groves and stuff. That makes it even cooler.
I love the fact that you're still encouraging others, and I mean others as in myself. I remember, I don't know if it was last year, this year, maybe one time, I just got a random text from you. You were watching one of my games or something, and you said, "Dude, you're actually pretty good at this. You're crushing it." And for me, we think, sometimes we don't know who's watching. We don't know what's going on. And you could have easily just saw it and just kept going on about your business, but you text me and took the time to do that. And I appreciate that, because, people see guys at your stage, on your level, and doing it at that level, and say, okay, these guys are kind of untouchable. And I remember early in the season, I said, "Hey, Pollack, I want to get you on the podcast." You said, "Anytime, whatever you need." The text that you sent about, "Hey, you're doing a good job, bro," it kind of gave me something that, like, you know what, maybe I am doing something right. Let's keep going what I'm doing. So I appreciate you still being who you are. You've always been this same guy since we came in 01. So I definitely appreciate that. Before we let you get out of here, bro, I want to ask you about, obviously, the big game. Big game coming up, Natty Championship. We got Ohio State. We got Alabama, 2 powerhouses. I'm sure everybody's expecting Alabama to boat race it, similar to how everybody's expected Clemson to win. But obviously, we know you got to play the ball game. Kind of give the fans and the viewers a little something, maybe a nugget to watch during the game. And what are you expecting?
Well, I tell you what, offenses are way ahead of defenses, and I don't expect this to be any different. I think this is going to be everybody plays playing Madden on exhibition mode, bro. Like, you just might as well get used to it. You're going to make great plays. You got receivers, you got quarterbacks, you got running backs, you got skill all over the field with great systems. 2 of the best 3 play callers in all of college football. So I expect it to be a track meet. I expect it to be a lot of fun. I expect it to be a lot of offense. A couple things. I think Ryan Day and Ohio State have found who they are. They're a power run team and play action and take shots. Like, I think early in the season, they wanted to be a Justin Fields team and throw it around, and he did a great job. But once we got to Indiana, we had some hurdles, and Northwestern, we had some hurdles. And I think you put him in a role of let the play action eat, let Sermon eat. I mean, Sermon didn't have over 13 carries until the Northwestern game. And now you're starting to see, like, he's the featured guy. He's an animal. So I think that makes this offense even more dangerous. And then Alabama, I mean, it's stupid. It pisses me off, honestly, because I watch them, and I'm a defensive guy, and I want answers. Like, I want to watch the tape and go, okay, I can take that away by doing this. Okay, then they do this. And then I can take that away by doing this.
But then they don't do that.
It pisses me off, man, because I'm like, dude, I got nothing. And such a magical job with Sarkisian of of short motions and motion to see what covers they're in. Okay, they're in man, like, oh, now we'll stack behind each other, and stack releases are annoying because you can't get your hands on people. And then, by the way, we're going to take away the pass, the big plays. Now you get a mouthful of 6'3", 230 Najee Harris running down your throat. Yeah. So, I mean, it's like it's the equivalent to baseball. You want to take away the fastball with an offense and make them do something they don't like. Well, you take away the run game, they can throw it and get explosives. You take away the throw game, the deep throw game. Okay, I'll throw it short to Devontae Smith. By the way, if Devontae Smith played two-hand touch versus Notre Dame, he still scored 3 touchdowns and had over 100 yards receiving.
No doubt.
They couldn't even get 2 hands on him. No doubt. I mean, just great systems, great skill. I think Alabama has a little bit more defense when it comes to Surtain and Malachi Moore, and the safeties, I think, are a little bit more athletic. But remember, this is the same defense that gave up over 40 against Florida. They're going to get shredded. Like, I think we're looking at 40-something, like fun, entertaining, back and forth. But I think the tempo game for Ohio State will be critical. They were really good against Clemson, getting the line of scrimmage, running the play fast. Ole Miss did it to Alabama, killed them early in the season. And then Ryan Day slowed the tempo down a little bit. So mixing up tempos with Alabama will be good. But we're looking at, if you like points, which most of y'all do, I think the rules should be changed. By the way, I'm sick and tired of this bogus bull crap that they let guys block 3 yards or 5 yards down the field. And it's all skewed to offense. And I know we want points and all that stuff. I like great defense too. I wouldn't mind seeing a great defensive game occasionally.
Yeah. Oh, man. I mean, I love the fact you mentioned the stuff about Bama's offense, because I get the question all the time. You come into a game versus Alabama, you know they want to go deep with Devontae. You know this, but how come every single ball game he finds a way to get behind your defense? And I tell people exactly what you just said. Sarkisian does such a good job of changing the look for the defense, putting them in stack, putting them in the slot, put them outside. They move around so much, the defense just cannot be right every single time. So I'm glad you mentioned it, man. It's going to be an exciting ball game. I'm looking forward to that. Last thing, I know I said last thing, but I want to ask you, obviously, I would love you to talk about your family. You talked about Lindsay. I know you're a little guy. You're coaching. You got the Pee Wee football team going. Just talk about your family for a minute, man. Talk about your family, man, and talk about some of the things that people don't know maybe that Pollack's doing when he's not on TV. And I know you're passionate about it. Russ told me about it. My little guy just started playing football this year. And
how old?
He's 8. Because look, when the pandemic started, Russ was like, you need to bring him down here. You need to let us play, because y'all were looking for people to play. So I know you're passionate about it, but just talk about your family and
by the way,
what's going on.
If you want to get him right, you need to bring him over here. You need to do that. Hey, you would be blown away, homie. Like on my 10U team, we run jet read. We run power read. We run zone read.
And they actually reading it.
Yes, we run slot fade. We run we can run so much because we really do a good job teaching these kids. But I'll tell you this pertaining to that. Nicholas is 12, nothing like daddy, everything like mommy, built like mommy, mindset like mommy, long spider arms like his mom. He's 5. He's 12. He just turned 12. He's 5'6" and has like almost 6 foot wingspan, like long. Sheesh. Yeah, runs like a baby deer, like clunky and all over the place. Yeah. By the way, smart as a whip, bro. Like he had 6 picks this year in our football season. He sees everything. Like he sees. He doesn't. He's really.
Where you got him playing on defense? Where are you at?
He plays every position depending on formation. Depending on formation, he'll be a linebacker, a safety, a corner. Like literally. Man. I mean, he's got a really good football brain. He'll watch TV and he'll be like, "Hey, Daddy, He stole a play from the Mississippi State game. He stole a play. He was like, "Daddy, we could run that at a red split, and we ran it the next game and we scored a touchdown on it." But it was not, so he got a good brain for it. Very different than me. Baby girl's an animal. She's just like me, dude. Like if she loses, it's not her fault. It wasn't her fault. Like she should have won, but
she did her job.
10. But I coach her in basketball. It might be my favorite thing to coach is girls basketball. And we full court press the whole game, like make life
putting
miserable.
That pressure on them.
Oh, man, put that pressure on them. But, man, I love coaching. And the last thing, man, is I'll coach at some point, and it's just a matter of where. Yeah. But right now, for me, the coaching my kids is I want to be a big part of their lives and everything they're doing. And then once they get out of there, I think, I talk to college coaches about it all the time. I work with a local high school right here, Prince, and help them a little bit, and going to keep helping them. So I think, definitely coaching will be on the future, man. I know you had a lot of good time with your dad in coaching and him coaching you, man.
Yeah, man. It was fun times. I never been more nervous this year. My little guy playing his first full contact, and it was cool because usually it was his first year playing. So he's 8, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to be there. If we didn't have the pandemic, I wouldn't be able to see his first ball game. I wouldn't be able to put his pads on because obviously I'm going on, Thursday, Friday, getting ready for my game or whatever it is. So I wouldn't ever see it. But because of the pandemic, I was able to be here and see his first couple ball games. And I tell you, man, it's nothing like that feeling.
How'd he do?
Oh, man, he did good. They won a championship.
Did he like contact or?
Oh, he loves contact. Loves
contact.
Yeah,
baby.
He's all in on it. So it's fun, man. I'm with you on that. But
hey, let me give you some advice though, bro. I beat the crap out of mine all the time. Both of mine. Both of my kids.
My wife hated it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Portia don't like that. My Lindsay don't like it either. So I've always like slapped him and punched him. And Nicholas is 12 now, and he's finally getting a little strength to him and stuff.
Oh, he bowing up a little bit.
He ain't ready for that yet. But I'm sitting on the counter, and I was leaning over and I was texting and my phone, and he came behind me and went pop right on my back, and I was like, "Ooh!"
That actually hurt a little bit.
I was like, bro, I felt that a little bit. I said, you're starting to get a little something. But no, it's the best. It's parenting is so cool, man. It's just so much fun being a part of their lives, and coaching them's even better. Hopefully you got a good situation, a good coach and stuff too, because that makes a big difference.
No doubt. That was the number one thing I had to have. But man, we're gonna let you get out of here, bro. I just want to say I appreciate you, man. Obviously, I know you're a busy guy. You got a lot going on, preparing for the national championship. But I appreciate you taking a little time for your boy and dropping some gems on the people, man. Because I think a lot of people will get a lot of what you said. And I think it's worth hearing from a guy like yourself who's been through the ups and downs, and now you're still prospering, being successful. So from one guy to another, man, from your boy, I appreciate you taking the time.
Triple Threat, baby.
Being part of it, baby. All right, Pollack, man. Appreciate you joining the Triple Threat podcast. My man, David Pollack, came through. I appreciate it. And love you, man, and stay safe, brother.
Love you too, big dog. See you.